Othercide is a tactics game in the same vein as other games such as XCOM, Fire Emblem, or Advance Wars, I'm pretty sure. However, if you've played any of those games, you'll be a bit off balance with Othercide, as while the groundwork is familiar, it's at an angle. It's more melee focused than XCOM, less terrain and weapon triangle focused than Fire Emblem, and you have far fewer units than Advance Wars, to my understanding. At most, in this game, you get 5 units on a map at any given point in time, which can be quite daunting considering how many enemies there are in certain later levels. That being said, that is also a very special scenario, and most of the time throughout the game, you'll be playing with 3 to 4 units on map at any given time. Also, unlike Fire Emblem or Advance Wars, you don't necessarily vanish into a little cutscene when you attack or are attacked or when you do anything. Instead, it has a more similar flow to XCOM, where everything happens on the same overall map. The thing, though, that keeps me coming back to this game, and what has cemented it as one of my favorite games of all time, is that this game oozes style from every pustulant pore it has. As you can see by the gameplay footage, the main menu, everything is basically black and white and gray, with effectively no real exceptions. Some of the eyes can be yellow, I think, and you get some red here and there on the outfits, and definitely with those wonderful scarves, but usually everything's black and white and gray, and that's it. What this does for the game, though, is that whenever there is red, whenever you have a critical attack of some sort, or a more powerful strike that's been built up, or an aura, or a memory, we'll get to that in a moment, that red, that crimson bursts like a blood vessel in the brain. It is phenomenal. The game focuses less on necessarily being super hyper-realistic and more on a sort of stylistic touch, which I absolutely adore. This game is pretty brutal as well, and there are 2 difficulties, one being a bit more fun by my reckoning, as it lets your daughters, that's the soldiers you command, heal each day by a certain amount. I think it's something like 50% of their health. Though, that being said, originally it didn't come with 2 difficulties, and the only way to heal them would be to sacrifice another unit, which would not only heal the unit, but also provide a passive bonus to the one who was healed. That feature still remains. And make no mistake, that theme of sacrifice still remains. This game demands sacrifice. You still need to buff your own units by sacrificing another, because those bonuses will be game-changing. It can increase the health of your units significantly, their damage, their dodge chance, and whatever the Scythe Dancer bonus is. I actually don't know that one, but it's still quite significant, and that theme of sacrifice remains throughout the entire game. It's put into every single pore of the game. I absolutely adore games like this, where it isn't about how realistic the game looks, or even necessarily how refined the actual overall gameplay can be here and there, but how it feels, the atmosphere, the vibes, for lack of a better term. Risk of Rain is another game that does this really well, at least the second one. I have not played the first one, but Risk of Rain 2 at least has a similar sort of styling where it's not necessarily the most realistic, but it gets the point across. Additionally, another thing that Othercide does really well that I adore is the enemy designs. The character designs for your soldiers are obviously pretty good, but the enemy designs are phenomenal. They really give this grody, yuck kind of like ugh feeling. I mean, just look at this pustulant reflection of suffering. Isn't it just awful? I adore this. I genuinely adore this. And you might be asking why the enemies look like this, why they're so repugnant and disgusting. Well, the general answer is that they're literally reflections of suffering. The basic premise of Othercide, which is in fact Othercide is in homicide rather than crossing the street, is that eldritch beings known as others exist in unreality. They embody certain concepts and choose mortal vessels, rendering these people chosen ones, with white hair and, once linked, immortality and the inability to die normally. By the name, you can surmise that the whole point is killing one of these beings. The beginning of this game takes place in a city as it's swallowed whole by an other, linked to a chosen one who experienced such torment and agony that he figured it would be a better idea to consume the world than to continue on in pain. Another chosen one, known as the Mother, and later the Red Mother, tries to stop this, but ultimately fails, and starts forming her memories into the aforementioned daughters to fight a looping battle against the other in a desperate bid to stop this. The city is already gone, but you're fighting to hopefully save the world. Little bit of a warning, I suppose. The game can be quite edgy, but it's in service of more than just twisted peek into my fucked up mind. You wouldn't last a minute in my etc., etc. It's actually got a purpose to it, and again, comes with that style that it absolutely oozes. Another part of Othercide that I absolutely adore, one of my favorite parts even, is the music. In this game, the music is phenomenal. Though, there is one of my gripes, one of the very few gripes, that I have with the game. The first and fourth and fifth boss theme, and the main menu theme, have a certain vibe and sort of bang overall. While a lot of the other general tracks that aren't necessarily boss themes, or even some of the other boss themes, tend to be more ambient or churchy. While that is thematic, no words on God's scorched earth can describe to you how badly I wish there were more songs in the same genre throughout the entire game. Just more, like, the music's so good, and I wish there was more of it. That being said, the game is rather short. It's a roguelike, and apparently the average time to beat is something like 22 hours, which isn't very long, but I think it is well worth your time. The general gameplay revolves around, obviously, these daughters who level up bit by bit, get new abilities, permanent abilities, by the way, you can't respec them, and you can resurrect them if they die, but you have to get a resurrect token from a soul. You can customize them. That wasn't in the game originally, but now has been added. That allows you to differentiate them a bit better. You can enhance their abilities with memories, which are these passive bonuses, which range from, a little bit of extra damage to, you can make this person not be able to move for 15 units of initiative. Oh yeah, by the way, that timeline on the bottom of the screen, that is critical to the general flow of gameplay in Othercide. You can mess with it with certain abilities, and also have it messed with by enemies, effectively, slowing your units down. A big part of the game revolves around denying enemies the chance to do things, and stacking repeated effects as much as you can to win, while also trying to avoid the same thing happening to you. I have had several times where, effectively, I just get stuck and can't do anything, and it's because I didn't plan well enough. While this game lacks the cover and terrain mechanics of other games in its genre, Othercide is uniquely focused on positioning and forward planning. It's not necessarily something where the ground you're standing on is super important, it's more where you're standing that is super critical. That being said, with the short runtime, this is sort of a thing that very much wounds me. It's spiritually, not physically. I'm not bleeding. Unlike XCOM 2, this game has no modding support, and I don't think it's ever going to get modding support, which is so very tragic. XCOM 2 has existed and thrived even for so many years because, there's some crazy mods. There's a total Star Wars conversion. There's all these character model changes and such. And then there's new missions, new unit types. It's crazy. And I think this game would do fantastic with something like that, though it has not gotten that, and I don't think it ever will. I understand that modding a game without support can be quite preposterous and perhaps downright impossible, though the specifics elude my squishy, unwrinkled brain. I just think, what could be possible with this game. More bosses, more classes, more cosmetics, even just more music or something like that. There's so much that this game does so well, and so much that I think could be done so well. I understand that there probably isn't a way for this game to get proper mods, but I think I want to keep holding out hope that someone can somehow necromance that and figure out a way to give it mods that are pretty cool, because I think this game deserves a lot more love than it has gotten. The issue, of course, being that it doesn't last that long, and so people don't necessarily have the time to give it the love it deserves. It's a fantastic game, and I didn't even find it on my own. I watched video by Indie Mouse, who I believe might have been sponsored some years ago. By the way, better channel, go watch that. At any rate, he made a video on it, and that's originally where I found out about the game. I don't know whether an advertising campaign could have done better. I don't know whether modding support would do this or that. It's such a good game. Man. Is that everything I wanted to say? Stylish, phenomenal music and atmosphere, fun gameplay, very awesome designs. Yeah, I reckon. Toodle.
I've been here for a while. There's nothing here, nothing to see. They'll come again. You're not real, and I'm not either. White, no black, no red, not really anything. Line figures across the veil. What your eyes do?